Okay, and we are live. Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to this live video. As you can see from the title of this video, is we're going to talk about how to build a strong inner core and what this inner core actually means. Like, what does it mean? What does it mean to have a strong inner core? And for those who don't know me, my name is Julia Dars. I'm a transformational coach, and I like to call myself transformational coach instead of life coach, but you can, if that's what you prefer, because technically I don't teach anyone how to live their lives. I just help them transform their lives. They want so. So I started my career approximately 9 years ago, and I started as a fitness coach and nutritionist. And I in kind of like couple years started working a lot with overweight people and obese people, and that's what led me to start studying cognitive behavioral therapy. And I was absolutely fascinated by psychology, and I inhaled every book on brain behavior, feelings, emotions, while I was navigating my own personal struggles in a way, which I also going to talk about today because it really falls under the umbrella of strong inner core. And fast forward, I just felt a calling to transform my business into a different type of service, right? Instead of being fitness coach and nutritionist, I started helping people with their life transformations, right? I am fascinated by subconscious and limited beliefs, and I have my tools that I use for myself, for my clients over 9 years already. I like to say that I very much enjoy fast paced scenarios. Thus, regular therapy, like talking therapy, didn't really work for me just because I didn't see why should I spend 5 years in uh, therapy talking about my inner child while my life just passing me by. That's why I started, going and just really learning and being curious about all different type of things, hiring mentors. I started my spiritual journey after 9 years being in New York and feeling really disconnected because it was a lot of hustle and grind, and just, you know at some point I realized that I don't really feel myself anymore or as myself anymore, and I didn't see or have any visions for my life. So I decided to move to South Carolina, and that was the very beautiful journey of transformation for me, spiritual journey, where I, with my high achieving kind of background, became a guardian in all different types of psychedelic retreats, and that's where I started kind of like uniting uh, both worlds. I didn't see the necessity to just disregard everything I've learned through neuroscience and psychology, traditional psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, NLP, right? Positive psychology, but I also didn't see how can we not unite, spiritual world and scientific world. For me, was not a question, and thus I started building the program that really kind of have has all of that. But today, I wanna start with a topic that really kind of I feel like just everyone should start with this. So I'm a dancer, and each dancer, I think, went through classical dance or ballet. It really the foundation. So I feel like the inner core topic is really a foundation if you want to have a beautiful life, if you want to be an architect of your reality, if you want to, shift to a better version of yourself, inner core is a must. And I want to start with a story where I first was introduced to the concept of inner core. And that story was about approximately, I think, like 7 years ago. And I had a yoga session, not the kind of traditional yoga, like, or like the common understanding of the yoga as of it's now. But I had a monk, and he was torturing me and my friend through all different types of poses, to the point where I was like, okay, I feel numb, my body is in pain, can we move? But I didn't say anything because I knew what this is, what it takes. This is the practice, real practice. And he would just sit there and chat with us here and there, really, like, out of the blue he would say something. And that's where he said this phrase. He's like, Julia, you have such a strong inner core, but you also have a lot of work to do with that. And at that moment, I was like, I was very young, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I was like, oh, ha ha ha. You know, I didn't really give it much of a thought. But then, moving through my life, I realized, and coming back to that phrase over and over again, that really inner core is a foundation for everything. And I feel like I have, a Russian upbringing, so that may be a benefit to my inner core. So today I want to start with defining what inner core actually is. What is it? Because if we don't understand what we're talking about, if we're not on the same page, probably for me it would mean something different than it would for you. So I'm gonna list things that I include in the term in a core, right? And the first one I think is the physical body. I don't know anyone who I would say that they have very strong in the core who are not taking care of their physical body, who are not taking care of their nutrition, who are not taking care, of their fitness, who are not moving, who are not doing anything in that, case. So I think if you want to, and you right now in the journey of rediscovering yourself, see, I'm saying rediscovering, not discovery, because everything is already there. We just need to peel off layers of, like, what we gathered over the course of our lives. So, physical body, right? Regular fitness, and um, I guess am lucky that I felt a calling, uh, probably like 10 years ago, approximately, to start my fitness journey, because I thought that I want to change the way I look. I didn't really like myself looking in myself in the mirror, and I uh, honestly I really just wanted to buy skinny jeans and look at them very great. So I started. At that moment, there were like fitness coaching wasn't really as popular as it now. There were absolutely no online programs whatsoever. So I just started searching YouTube, and I started with just a fitness bikini person who I found, and she was Russian. She is Russian, so I started following her and really just got into the gym and got into the work. And I realized that there's something is missing in there because I'm doing all this work, but like I don't really see results. And that's where nutrition came into the place. And I started learning about that. And I decided that this is my calling. This is what I want to help people with. So clean eating, right? Um, Correct eating that requires you to give your body everything it needs. Not only your body, but your brain, your organs, your soul, right? Because we have this saying that our body is the temple of our soul. I don't think a lot of people give much thought, about this phrase, but I think that really, if we look into our soul as something very precious, something that we have and we need to take care of it, then no wonder we need to take care of our body, because I don't think you can be very, inspired and motivated and uplifted and happy if you're struggling with your, physical body. So number one is physical body. Number two, mental body. Your mental health is very important, and the reason why I brought those together, because I think, I'm looking into our, like, it's everything is the one system. There's not one thing better than the other. I think it's a combination. And our mental health, and I've done, recently, it's interesting that I had so many consultations and sessions where I see that people are, being bombarded with the autoimmune diseases and weaknesses. And definitely, when we go deeper, I see a lot of stress. I see a lot of, lack, I guess, of just rest and balance and play and joy, all just the hustle and hustle and hustle, bad sleep. So that's why I think mental health is absolutely, is the same as your physical health, especially right now in our days with the, you know, abundance of information, abundance on everything, scrolling social media, just from every angle, we're getting bombarded with stuff that I think just taking care of your mental health. And, I know this from my own personal experience. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which I also will talk a little bit later. Um, and I know, looking back, you can say that it was because of COVID, because of something else, but I definitely know that I was not taking care of myself mentally. My stress level was through the roof. And what's interesting is that when you live in this situation for quite a while, you adapt. So now something that is high stress environment for you will be normal. And that's the problem, because your brain, its main function is to keep you alive. That's it. And if that means adjusting to high stress, poor sleep, poor nutrition, it will do it. So now you like, oh, okay, this is my normal state of being. Tell you another story. I was working with a physical therapist for quite a while. He's my very good friend. And, I was observing a couple sessions, and I see that when people get rid of pain, they almost were trying to find it. Like, I see they trying to move their knees into that, awkward position where they usually felt pain. And I'm like, hey, are you trying to find it? Why are you doing this? But why? Because they're so used to live in that pain, in that stress. So once it is gone, they don't even know, like, how, what, it's really uncomfortable in a way, right, for them. So mental health. Then the next one would be mind. Your mind, right? Brain and mind are two different things, right? We all have brain, but not all of us have mastered their minds. And mind is something that you can train. Emotional intelligence, understanding yourself, setting boundaries, being, an observer, not reacting to things. It's obviously way a lot more things that go into it, but just starting with, meditation and maybe a walk, if you can really sit still, that would be great, just because you're going to start understanding and training your mind to serve you instead of you serving your mind, right? We're not our thoughts. So all those concepts. The next one that I would love to talk about is confidence. I think confidence is the one of the main things that goes into the strong in the core. Confidence, it's not the same as arrogance. It's different. Absolutely two different things. I'm not going to go deep inside of it. So if you're interested, let me know. But um, confidence is the action. you build confidence, right? um, and just being confident in yourself, in being open to be wrong as well, but then confidently changing that, right? Like, yeah, okay, I was wrong, and it's fine. It's just another data for me, and right now I can shift to a different state and take things in a different perspective. Also, it's not the same thing as being oblivious, just in case. Awareness, another component. Awareness is something that is also could be trained. Think of it as a something very small that over time can grow and expand. And you will be surprised that when we become aware that sometimes we live in rose-colored glasses, sometimes we think about certain things, and that's not really what's happening, but because we think, or we are not aware of a different scenario, we take it for a 100% truth, right? So just becoming aware of certain things really help building that inner core. Then love. I think love is also another thing. Being able to keep your heart open in a loving space is really something that a lot of us should learn how to do. And I went through a lot of situations where I closed my heart. I was upset and sad and angry with people, and really didn't really do much for me. I felt that I'm missing out on a lot of things. So when you're closing your heart, you're not only closing it from sadness, and you're not getting those emotions in, and you're not living through them, but you're also closing your heart because you can't just have it closed for something and then have it open for another for other things, because it's the door. And you closing your heart for love, for joy, for happiness as well. And my experience, I didn't really see that I benefited out of it. And despite of being heartbroken from relationships that I really thought gonna work and misleading, or I was misleading myself in those relationships as well, right? Not seeing the truth for the truth, but just seeing something the way I wanted to see them, because the truth was very painful. I decided that close heart will be something that I want to live with. Really didn't really do much for me. So, learning how to have your heart open and go through the uh, life with that awareness, and knowing that no matter what happens, you're not going to close your heart, and you're going to survive everything. That's the strong inner core, right? That's what means to have a strong inner core. The next one is compassion. Compassion and empathy. By the way, those three probably go hand in hand. And for me, I really during the time when I was integrating my shadow self, it was really almost like mind blowing. How can I love and then forgive and then be in the world with people who really, to me, look just arrogant and rude, not keeping their promises and doing something that like harm other people. I couldn't comprehend that. Like my brain was like, no, it's one thing or the other. So what I did is like during meditation, I really asked God. I said, hey, just can you take that away from me? Like I really don't need that. And what's interesting is that when we're working on like creating our reality, call it whatever you want, being an architect of your reality, creating, shifting, quantum leaping, whatever you want it to call it. Um, what we have is already with us. It's already here. But what we need to do is to let go of what we don't need. And at that moment, I realized that I don't need to be mad or sad about this. I can live through the emotion. It doesn't mean I can have that emotion. Of course I have. Just watch me driving sometimes. Like I'm not reactive anymore, but I observe And I'm aware that sometimes those thoughts of like, wow, that's just a stupid driver who gave them license. Um, it's there, but I'm not hanging on to it, and I'm not clinging to this emotion. It just arises. I'm aware. I'm like, oh, here we go. It's here, cool, and life goes on, right? I don't need to chase that car and throw my middle finger at their face. I don't need to do this. My time is very valuable. I don't want to do this, right? I'd rather enjoy those seconds in the car, let's say. So, um, really just letting that go, but also not pushing it out of yourself. We can talk about emotions a little bit later. Authenticity. That's another thing that I feel is really, really, really is the core foundation of the strong inner core, right? Interesting game of words, but this is what I feel authenticity, being authentic, being true to yourself, right? Not having or wearing masks. Not necessarily you want to do this. Like I want to also make this kind of remark here that we have that like mainstream tendency of just scrutinizing people that like, oh, he's wearing a mask or she's wearing a mask or she's pretending. So this is just a mechanism that we use to quote unquote stay in life and in the society. That's what kind of comes out if we're not aware of ourselves and if we're not really standing our ground and we're true to ourselves, which by the way, nobody taught us when we were growing up, at least in my awareness. I didn't have those extra curriculum in school. So it's just people do this because in that moment or with that group of people or that person, that's what feels safe. And they don't feel safe being open. Maybe not yet, right? So, learning how to be authentic, even in the scenarios where you feel that you're going to be rejected or abandoned, that's the true inner core. Because I'll tell you this, if people, and we're talking about, like decent human beings here, right? Like, I'm not talking about crazy scenarios, but if people don't accept you for who you are, well, that's the question for you. Are they your people, truly? Right? Are they your true friends or not? Even if it comes to family. If you need to be someone else for your family, then this is the game not worth playing, to be honest. Okay. Next one, discipline. Discipline, discipline, discipline. I love it. And discipline, is a huge requirement when it comes to life with anything, right? Being disciplined about your routine, being disciplined about taking care of your physical body, being disciplined about, having your right nutrition, being disciplined about, going to the gym, being disciplined about your meditation, being disciplined about building your routines again and your calendar and just be on point with everything, right? So I feel like this is very, very important. Next one is structure. And I guess those goes hand to hand. And oh shit. Oop. I don't know if we can curse here, but I really had like one way and then another way and then finally finding like the middle ground for this, where at first I was very strict and disciplined, and I'm coming from Russian background, don't forget, right? So that's kind of the key. um so I didn't really have a wiggle room, didn't really have any flow. I really didn't even know what flow is, right? Or like, why would I be flexible if I have everything written down on my calendar? And then when I got very burnt, like I burned out, like just doing that like a soldier, I went into the completely opposite scenario where all I had is the flow. No calendar, no responsibility, time. I don't know. I would do this and this time, this and that time. I want to wake up. And that was chaotic. It was enjoyable in like, in the beginning, but then definitely I did not enjoy it after that. So having structure, and the next point that goes into the inner core is having a flow. Those two, right? Don't forget, it's feminine and masculine energy. Structure is more of the masculine, or it's leaning more towards masculine, and flow, it's more of the feminine, right? Energy, not men and women, right? Those are energies. So having structure and having a discipline, and then having a flow that goes into it, that's what really, really gets you unshakable. Next one, shadow part. I love that. And I'm looking down because I have my notes in here. Otherwise, I will go and, just into the other topics. Shadow parts. Shadow parts. I love that because, this concept, I'm just going to, give you another example in my life. So, I grew up really kind of being taught that don't argue, especially with men, right? Like I grew up watching this dynamic between my parents. That's my absolutely successful marriage afterwards. But I grew up with the phrases like, just don't talk much, or like, just keep it for yourself. Nobody cares, and kind of all of those things. So what I've noticed when I started like really like deep work, I've noticed that even though I felt that my boundaries were violated, like in all different planes, moral planes, value planes, human planes, right? I couldn't say anything because, and I was like, why am I afraid of just speaking up for myself? That's weird. You know, it's clearly like they did wrong. Like, that's not the way to treat a human being. And in the same time, I was like, you know what? Like, it's fine. I just gonna make my conclusions and move on. And that's what created huge, like, tense feelings in my body. And that's, by the way, where you can psychosomatic, you can, see like a problem with liver, anger, right? Like that's what we just boil inside. And if you think about how does this work, is that, imagine you have like a boiling pot, right? And it's like shut closed, and there's no air to go out. So eventually when you start heating it up, the water gonna start boiling, and what it's gonna do is gonna explode. And there are very severe cases when you have this happen. So it's the same with us. If we shutting down our emotions, if we think that feeling angry or sad, or standing our like ground and actually being in conflict is something that people will think of us less than, or not a good girl, right? Then what do you think your body gonna do? It's just gonna, take on your physical health. So really integrating those parts of you in very nurturing and very healthy way. Like, right, I know that I am capable of being angry. God forbid anybody gets on that side. And it's really hard to get on that side, to be honest. But I know that I'm capable. And I feel like because I integrated that part of me, people feel this. They know that I don't want to do this. Why would I? Right? Another example would be with your kids. Jordan Peterson loves talking about it. When you, let's say you're a parent, if you're not a parent, just imagine it, right? And imagine that you parenting your child, and if they did something wrong, or God forbid, dangerous for themselves or for other people, right? You're like, oh, it's okay, it's fine. Just, because you don't want to be angry parent, right? And what you do is like you just kind of telling this child that it's fine to do those things. Do you think that's going to be helpful for them to grow up knowing that there are no consequences of their behavior, right? So what happens is that when you show your child that you are capable of, I don't want to say punishing them, but let's say you're grounded, right? Let's say, okay, you did this, I want you to feel responsible for this, and this is what's happening right now. If you repeat this, those are the consequences. And so your child right now knows that you have that part, and that I'd rather not step on it again, right? So shadow parts, like those emotions, just letting yourself in, understanding that you have that, and it does not make you a bad person. It just makes you whole, right? Remember duality. You can really experience this life in full if you only in, if like, I'm butterflies and unicorns. Something somewhere it's gonna snap, right? Okay, so next part of this video where we at this time. Okay, we are on time. Beautiful. I want to talk about how just give you an examples, because I love just showing certain complex things in the story. By the way, stay to the end. I'm gonna pull one of my favorite cards in the end, so a little bit of sparkling of magic in here. How I build my inner core. So first of all, I am Belarusian, and all those stereotypes about Russians, and it's part of Russia if you don't know where Belarus is. Um, all the stereotypes about Russians are tough, and we eat, bread and potatoes, and we drink vodka instead of water. Those are all made up. But I gotta say that because of the lifestyle we had, or our parents grew up in, like USSR, the war, like, you would have a family with 6 kids, and they have to survive. So, of course, it was not a place for being nurturing and loving, right? So that's why I believe we just have that genetic code in us that makes us more or less a little bit more, um, or seen as more tough, right? Or more authentic, maybe. I know, like, I have my friends saying, like, I wish I were Russian because you always say what you think. And that's not true, by the way. I don't always say what I think, or at least I've learned not to say what I think all the time, right? But what I gotta say is that yes, it's helped me. But definitely in the other, like, spectrum of this is I had to learn a lot of the different things that were absolutely alien to me. So that was like a funny kind of remark on that. But what also helped me to build my inner core is that understanding that I am not doomed with whatever my environment granted me with when I was born, or my family. I always knew that I'm going to move into United States. There was no other option for me. And I've tried. Let's be honest. I've tried. My parents said no to all of those options. So I said, okay, then I'm moving to United States, because I knew this is my calling. That's what's calling me. I was not scared to move at my 20s into America alone. I was not scared. And that, like, courage is one of the parts of the inner core, is that knowing that the fear is there just to protect you, but it's not always real. Yes, if you're standing on the edge of the bridge, that's a very valid fear, of course. But if we're thinking about moving, changing something, moving to a different state, changing your career, saying goodbye to people who drain you from your life, toxicity. If we're talking about those things, that just understanding that if you choose yourself, that's only gonna make your life better, not worse, right? So that's what also helped me to build that inner core, because I had to take care of myself. I had to do things that were absolutely outside of my any comfort zone. I moved to the different country with a different language, with absolutely no experience at any job, with knowing absolutely zero people aside of just my person who moved with me, my friend, and my roommates. I didn't know them even like before until I actually met them. So I had to go and explore for myself. I had to make decisions, bold decisions, scary decisions. But hey, I'm here and I'm very grateful for that. So that's what one thing if you're going to take one thing out of this entire video, take this. Make bold decisions for you, and while doing this, you're building that inner core, you're building that confidence in it. So the next one, I would say divorce. So I tell my story all the time, and it's on my social media that I got married, not really wanted to go and marry, and that's what actually like blew my mind after I started reflecting on that. I'm like, wow, far out. I didn't really listen to my intuition, where my ex-husband was giving me the ring, proposing me. I was sitting there, and it was like a beautiful spa in Manhattan, like a banya we call it. And he's like really holding the ring of my dreams, the one that always wanted, and he giving it to me. And inside of my body, everything screaming, no, like this is you marrying for wrong reasons. And I'll tell you what reasons those were. But right then, in that exact second, I thought, but and that's for you to reflect, not to just listen to my story. But we have a cat together. We've been together for 2 years. It's a lot of time, right? To just sacrifice the rest of my life. Uh he's I mean, I really like I loved him. It's not that I was just like, oh my god, I can look at you. There were things that I was attracted to, and I don't know if that was love necessarily, but I really thought I love him, right? Okay, at that moment. um from my perspective right now, I can say no, but like again, so that was something that there were things at that moment that I decided to, you know like put my favor into those things instead of listening to my intuition that was saying no, right? And as the result of it, absolutely nasty divorce. I'm in debt $75,000 because we entered a business together. And as I've learned through my parenting and growing up, that well, you don't really you kind of follow your man, right? You don't really have any saying in what like your man decides, right? So after the divorce, I was crushed, crushed because everything that I had in my mind, my vision, my heart was just gone in just 1 second. My identity, what I was doing, my my circle of my friends, dreams, goals, all gone. All I had is my cat. And she stayed on top of my chest for like those months that I was crying. But what deep inside I knew, even though it was very tiny, tiny, small, tiny voice that was saying, everything's going to be okay. You'll be okay. You just don't see it now because it hurts. And you will be better. It definitely a better choice for you. So going through difficult times like this and understanding that this is not the end, that this should not shake you. Again, I'm not saying don't feel in this moment. I'm not saying pretend that you are strong and you are better than that. I'm saying do what you need to do to get over this, but don't hang there for long, right? Because if you think there's entire world in front of you, new beginnings, new possibilities, and probably if that happened, that was not meant for you. Know that for sure. That's how it works. So next one is that when I decided that I want to follow my calling, and I decided to just really close my business that I built for 5 years, fitness and nutrition, was thriving, had clients, was really my one source of income at that moment. But I knew that that season of my life is over, and I'm no longer interested. And it I'm saying this in a very amazing scenario. I kind of like lingered there for a little bit, recording videos. I had enormous amount of videos, on my library of how to do exercises, everything that I was teaching there. Of course, I was like, nah, but right now, from this perspective, I understand that this was actually good. Like my intuition won at that time, and I thought, look, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know that I'm interested in psychology, in subconscious. I already explored all type of psychedelics over there, and I want to help people that are going through a similar situation, and that's probably why I went through 9 rounds of hell, because right now I can really connect. There was no one in my entire coaching history right now that I would not feel the same way. Like, and this, I'm like, I understand you, and this is what we can do. So at that moment, I realized that I want to help women who are going through this entire divorce thing. I want to help women to awaken. I want to help them to see them as queens as they are, their power, that they are nurturers, and they are, uh, guys, please, no offense, but rulers of this world. And if we are in our beautiful form, we are blooming, we're taking care of, we're nurturing, we have our hearts open, we have our inner core there, the world is the better place, or it can become a better place. I truly believe in that. So that was what's motivating me, or like motivated me also at that time when I started, is that I really want to see that. I really want to help and empower others. So, and I'm happy I made this decision. So that's point about inner core, is that you really feel that something is already dead. You don't have to carry it with you. Remember what I said, everything that you have or you want is already in your life. You just need to let go of things that is blocking that, right? Let that go. Next one. When I moved to Austin after moving from New York to South Carolina for a year, to Los Angeles for a couple, for South Carolina, South Carolina, 1, 2, 3, Charleston, for 1.5 years, and then Los Angeles. Um, that I just didn't feel that those places are my places, and I just packed and moved. Why would I wait? I'm not a tree. I don't have to stay here. And a lot of people were asking me, how did you do this? Like, how is that easy for you to pack and go? First of all, it's not easy. I don't want to say it was very easy. I built connections. I built love for, each state and city I lived in. But I also realized that I don't like it. This is not a sacrifice I want to make just because um, I moved in here, right? I can do the same, pack and move to the place that I felt is calling me, and that was Austin. And I never regretted this decision ever in my life. So, and I know, but because I'm an immigrant, right? Like, I moved from Belarus to the United States when I was 20 years old. Of course, it's easier for me, you can say that, right? And if you have a family and you lived your entire life in that particular place, that probably dropping everything and moving somewhere else, especially if you're already like, past 35 and around 40 years old, it's hard because you have all of that, as you think, baggage. But I'm also going to say that nothing worth you staying in a place where you suffer in an environment you don't like, you know, uh, rather than moving to something new and experiencing that. In worst case scenario, you can always come back. But just be brave. Be brave and know that if you have that calling, inner intuition, please follow it. Okay, where we are? We have 15 minutes. Oh, beautiful. Showing up for yourself. That's another thing, right? So when I moved to Austin, I didn't really know anyone. And I feel like the older you get, sometimes the harder it becomes to go and like explore. But I also realized that nobody will knock on my door, nobody will bring me things that I want, and people I want to meet with, and journeys and quests, and excitement. So I have to go and do this. I have to go. And like that's exactly where in the core very is very important, right? Being building that authenticity and showing up in places, building that confidence, right? Like your posture start with that, your physical, right? If you this or you that matters. Your energy changes right away. So just you need to show up for yourself. You need to show God, universe, uh, everything, the energy that you are ready for the shift in your life. You have to show it somehow. Just dwelling on it and saying that, like the life is unfair to you, this is not going to change anything, right? It's not. It's zero like ROI. So you have to learn and just go against your fear sometimes. That's the best thing I can say. Um, so type 1 diabetes, that's one absolutely amazing one. I feel like that one really helped me with my inner core a lot. Is when I was diagnosed and I got into the hospital, long story short, I didn't know I dropped a lot of pounds, like 15 pounds over probably less than 1 month. I really was just bones in that. Ugh, that was really scary to me. Um, I thought I have cancer. And then my doctor called me and I was hospitalized. Next day, they were like, wow, okay, that's just absolutely insane. Your blood work is so bad. You have keto bodies everywhere in your blood and your urine. And I'm like, okay, like I'm already in that mindset that I'm not dead. So we're gonna fix that. And then they said, like, that you, and I'm back in Belarus, so they don't really sugarcoat anything or trying to make it softer. They just go with what it is. And she goes, that you were 8 points and it's A1C away from being in diabetic coma. I swear that's what I said. Hmm, diabetic coma. How bad is it? Because coma, people go like come back from coma. Like that was my kind of like I guess maybe protective mechanism. And she's like, Julia, not a lot of people come back, but she's like, yeah, they do come back. But she was like, you psycho. So when I was left alone in my room, that's where it hit me. That's where I let it feel. Like I let myself feel that. Wow, wait, type 1 diabetes. Oh, well, I didn't know that it's type 1, but I felt it's type 1 because I'm like, definitely not type 2. There's also another one in between, but I'm like, that means I need to inject insulin. I knew that I don't have to change much in terms of my diet and my physical activity because I'm already doing all of that. But I didn't know how much damage I had on my organs because I thought, wow, such a high sugar for so long, probably not good. Um, and that's where I realized that, all right, I have two choices. I remember it as it was yesterday, sitting on my bed, meditating. And I was like, I have two choices. I can really cry and say that this is unfair. And I really felt it. Like I'm saying the truth right now. I really felt it at certain points. But then I feel like the moment I start going into that spiral, I realized this is not going to help me in my life because there are only two types of thoughts you can have: those that help you move forward and those that don't. So when I was on the diabetic uh, in journey, I realized that this won't help me. if I'm going to go into the victim mentality and blame everything, blame my ex-boyfriend, blame, my employer, blame myself, that won't help me heal. So I chose a different path, and I chose to share this right away because I really wanted people to wake up that stress, it's not something that we can take lightly anymore. And I remember one person asking me, "How can you be so cheerful? Why are you smiling? Like, you have what, type 1 diabetes?" And I said, "And what? I know it's reversible," even though I didn't know that, but I knew that I can heal it following Joe Dispenza work. I knew that if I'm on my rightful place in life and I am doing the best path that I was sent here to do, to walk, then there's no type 1 diabetes over there. I also knew that I'm not gonna let this break me and my life. No way. And yes, it took me quite a while. A year and a half, I was really recovering. It was bad. I was crying a lot. I was absolutely frustrated with the sugar. I couldn't work. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't work. I couldn't, be with my clients. I would go for a walk with my dog and my sugar would drop and I would feel like I'm just going to pass out right now. So all of those things that brought me that like were bringing me a lot of happiness in my life, I couldn't do those anymore. But yet I was like, look, this is not forever. And your work here is just to be with yourself right now. Don't think about to do, don't think about money, don't think about anything. The universe loves you and it will take care of you. And this is what happened. I did not choose to cry about my path. I chose to change it. Okay. I have a couple more things here, but we are um, almost time for us to finish. Please send me any questions if you have. If you want me to explore a little bit more on about inner core, is I'm probably gonna do another one because there are certain things that I really want to mention here. Um, if you would like to explore and your numeric psychology chart is you can DM or me purpose or just text me like, "Hey Julia, I would love for you to do numeric psychology decoding." That's one of the things that actually helped me to really open all my eyes, two of my eyes. Two of my eyes, right? Maybe three. Who knows how many eyes we have? And see all of my talents and gifts for what they are. Um, and for now, I want to do this. So let's think about intention right now, what you have in your life. Something that's going on, something maybe that is bothering you, right? Take a deep breath in and out. I'm gonna ask my beautiful deck of cards to really give the best guidance, right? That's a guidance, by the way. It's not a prediction, not a fate, just sign that we have everywhere in our life. We just don't really aware of it, right? Same with like numeric psychology. That's just tool, just a tool to discover yourself. Um, not anymore. You have free will, and free will, that's what determines your fate, your destiny. Okay, so let's see. Oh, well, technically, symbiosis. Symbiosis. I hope I'm not butchering this word. Let me use that symbiosis. 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 Here we go. 1221. I'm gonna read what it is. Really something. 1221. Okay. This is a reminder from your angels that you are not alone. Oh, so cute. They are reaching out, holding your hand, and guiding you through this period of conflict. You need to let go of any conflicts or burdens that are hurting your inner peace. You need to let go of anything that are hurting your inner core, right? This may be a moment to extend compassion not only to yourself. We talked about compassion today. Um, I lost it. But to others in your life, really. Your inner light is beautiful and should be shared with others. Such a beautiful message. Think what it is. Think like reflect on this right now. And cooperation and community, supportive, loving relationships, savoring meaningful connections, and symbiotic energy. Love it. And affirmation, deep soul connections are welcome in my life. Absolutely love it. That will help me build my strong inner core. All right. Thank you so much. We are right on time. I'm so proud of myself. I learned how to time myself correctly. Again, if you'd like to get the mini decoding that we do for uh, for my clients, please DM me purpose. It might be also link in my bio. I don't know. I need to check that. And you can also book a short discovery call. I'm not taking any clients as of yet right now because I'm getting ready for the program to launch program in September. Can don't not going to talk about this, but this is uh, absolutely amazing. The program that helps discover your inner core, build it up. It will help you to really rewire any limiting beliefs or negative beliefs that go in front of you and protect you or like push you away from the life you want. We're going to learn how to set boundaries. We're going to learn how to elevate ourselves. So that inner core, like them under this umbrella, right? So no matter what happens, is no matter what triggers in your life, you are there for you. One person asked me today, so what's holding you? And I said, myself, I'm holding me. Nothing can shake me. Yes, I get upset sometimes and sad, but really, it happens really rarely. That's what I put into my program with numeric psychology, with all the different types of practices that help with that, with neural rewiring, with getting deep into who you are, with unleashing your inner power, your voice, with learning how to set boundaries, right? And that's going to be a different topic for the next week, but that's really important, like really building that strong foundation that you can not only use, like people think, why do I need that inner work for? I'll tell you, in real life, where work, career, money, relationships, communications, learning new things, going out, showing up for yourself, having opportunities, being in the best environment, having best people around you, finances, abundance. Should I continue? Because this is all start with who you are and who you are really, not who you think you are, right? And that's what the program and not only that, but I love that it gives you the system. Remember I told you about structure and system. It gives you that system. And every time right now I'm met with like some sort of a stuckness. I'm like, okay, so it's not bad. I've learned how to not wait until it's really bad. It's not bad, but it's also something nagging. So what can I do? So I go back to my numeric psychology. I open it up. I do my neurographics drawing. I see like, oh, maybe that is a belief that is lingering there. I don't attack everything, right? I know there is only one thing that I need to work on right now. Let go, and because that reality is it's already existing here. The tools like time management, the tools like figuring out what drains your time and what do you actually do in your entire life, like in your entire day, right? Because you will be surprised. that we just spend a lot of time, and it just goes outside of our awareness because it's the habit. So you're not really aware of that. Focus, right? What is one thing I need to focus on in order for me to grow? Is this program for everyone? No. I think if the person is really doesn't have any ambitious goals or don't want to grow, or this person doesn't care about money or bringing their financial health up or having beautiful relationships, not settling for I'll just take that, it's fine. Then this is definitely not for these people. This is for people who really want to rediscover themselves, build that inner core, understand their old strengths, like elevate themselves, have back their vision about what their life could be without the fears and without the limiting beliefs. And then they're like, wow, now I don't want that. I thought that was amazing. I want this because this is really what I want. Being honest, because a lot of the times we're afraid of saying our true desires because we just think it's never going to happen. And I'm going to tell you, it could happen. Like I'm very like a manifestation of that, of my program again, because I use it all the time. And what I'm proud about this is that because it also gives you the perks, like the book of life, everything is so amazing, like the journals, the prompts, everything, like just crazy. But it also gives you the system that you, no matter what, can use at any time of your life. It gives you understanding of other people as well. It just a lot. So it's a very complex program. So that's why I'm like not doing any in person right now, only like consultations and sessions, like one on one here and there. But if you want to know more about that program, there is a link in my bio where you can do like a pre-qualification form. And the reason is pre-qualification form because not everyone will be admitted there. Because if I can help you, I don't want you to spend your time or your money. And I have a money back guarantee. I don't really care for that, but I just don't want you to have, to spend your time on my time if you really are not there yet for this program. So the everything is in my link in my bio. Thank you so much, Julia Darson. I'll see you next week, same time, uh, Tuesday, 5 p.m. We're gonna probably touch on a little bit more about inner core and have more on the triggers, why we get triggered, what we can do with this, and then certain actions. And we're gonna chat a little bit about intuition. All right, thank you so much. Love you. Have a beautiful day. Bye bye.